I want to tell you a story. It's about a company that decided to move fast on AI. They cut tens of thousands of jobs to fund it. And they set targets, they tracked adoption, they pushed forward. And then in a single week, they had 4 major outages at the highest severity that they could measure. Their own internal assessment says that their AI safeguards are, and this is a direct quote, not yet fully established. That company is Amazon. Amazon, as we all know, is a behemoth. They drive $500 billion in revenue. And this story I'm sharing with you is what moving fast on AI without the human infrastructure to support it actually looks like. Stay with me because this story matters for your career, regardless of where you work. In June 2025, Amazon CEO Andy Jassy sent a memo to 1.5 million Amazon employees. He told them Amazon had over 1,000 generative AI applications already running internally. He told them that AI will change how the work gets done. And then he said something that most CEOs would avoid saying out loud. He said, we will need fewer people doing some of the jobs that are being done today. He didn't say we might or we could. He said we will. He told his staff to figure out how to get more done with scrappier teams. He told them that the employees who embrace AI, who help to build it internally, will be very well positioned. Now, cut to 4 months later, in October 2025, Amazon cut 14,000 employees. These were middle managers, senior program managers, principal designers. In other words, the people who reviewed decisions, tracked progress, and managed the sign-off processes. Now, at the time, leadership said it was about culture, about removing bureaucracy. They didn't mention AI. Let's jump forward to January 2026. Another 16,000 jobs. Altogether, 30,000 were cut in 5 months. This represented 9% of their entire corporate workforce. AWS revenue was up 20% year on year. Amazon's total profits were up. This was not a company in trouble cutting to survive. This was a company that had decided that it could operate at scale with fewer people. The question is, fewer which people doing what? At the same time as the cuts, Amazon set an internal target. 80% of developers using AI coding tools at least once a week. And they tracked adoption. They blocked rival tools. They pushed hard. By January, 30% of those developers still had not touched the in-house tool. By December 2025, an AI coding tool called Kiro caused a 13-hour AWS outage. But this is what happened. Kiro had production level permissions. It identified a bug and it decided that the best way to fix that bug was to delete and recreate an entire live environment. And that caused that outage 13 hours. Amazon's public statement around that incident was that it was user error, not AI. But what they did quietly immediately after, they added mandatory peer review for all production access. Then a second incident happened with a different AI tool. Same explanation. more quiet changes to the process. And then on March 5th, 2026, Amazon's retail site went down for 6 hours. 1,000 users were reporting everything from checkout failures to missing prices to app crashes. Amazon called it a software deployment error. 5 days later, SVP Dave Treadwell made the normally optional weekly engineering meeting mandatory. His memo said this, and I want you to hear it carefully. It said, Gen AI tools supplementing or accelerating production change instructions, and this has led to unsafe practices. Therefore, they put a new rule in place. Junior and mid-level engineers now need senior sign-off on any AI-assisted production changes. He called it controlled friction. These problems trace back to Q3 of 2025, which is the same period that they began their large-scale job cuts. Some did not remove people and then have problems. They removed a specific type of person, the experienced mid-level professional whose job was human oversight, judgment, context, the ability to look at what a system was about to do and say, no, don't do that. The Kiro incident makes this visible. The AI had the permissions. It had the instruction. What it did not have was the judgment to understand what delete and recreate a live environment meant when hundreds of thousands of transactions are running through that environment. That judgment was held by the people who were no longer there. There is context from outside Amazon that is worth adding here. August 2025 research found that 90% of developers now use AI for coding, but only 24% trust it a lot. Another study, this time of 800 developers, found that AI coding tools introduced 41% more bugs without adding any commensurate improvement in output. Amazon is finding out what those numbers look like at the scale of a $500 billion operation with 30,000 fewer people available to catch the mistakes. This story I'm telling you, it's not a story about AI failing, not at all. AI did what it was supposed to do. It's a story about what happens when you remove the human layer before the AI is ready to replace the judgment, not just the output. People watching Amazon's story are reading it as a tech problem, something that happens to developers in Seattle. It is not. Finance, pharma, energy, every sector right now is building AI. And they're building AI infrastructure and they're building it out at varying speeds, but with the same underlying logic. If you move fast, if you reduce the coordination layer, if you track adoption, you can get more done with fewer people, leaner teams. The pattern that Amazon followed is not unique to a technology company. It is the pattern of any organization that moves faster than its structures and its governance can absorb. This is what Treadwell's memo tells you. If you read it as a career document rather than an engineering document, the new requirement is senior sign-off, not junior, not mid-level, senior. The things that cannot be removed from the chain experience human judgment over AI output. Data across tech postings shows this playing out in real time. The roles growing at premium salary levels are not AI builders. They are AI overseers, governance leads, AI-enabled domain specialists, the people who are senior enough and who are experienced enough to know when the AI is going wrong. That is your career capital. And the question is whether you have positioned it as such. or whether you are still describing yourself in the language of the coordination layer. So Amazon just ran that experiment at scale. They have 30,000 fewer people. They've experienced 4 outages at the highest severity level. And they've put in a new rule requiring senior sign-off before the AI touches anything critical. As I said before, the lesson is not that AI doesn't work. The lesson is that AI, without experienced human judgment and chain, is a liability. Your sector runs the same experiment, and it will. Will you be the senior sign-off, or will you be a part of the 30,000?